You made it. So I'll open a public hearing. The purpose of the hearing is to consider an application for a transfer of on-premises alcohol beverage license from the Bali Hai, Inc. to MDK Ventures LLC at 591 North Ave, Door 12, Wakefield, Mass. for the site of the existing Bali Hai restaurant at 160 Moulton Drive. Mr. Vignante, how are you?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Ted Rignante, 15 Pocahontas Way in Linfield, and I represent the proposed transferee of the license. And this is a license transfer request from the Bali Hai Incorporated to MDK Ventures LLC, which will be doing business as the American 160 Bar and Grill at 160 Moulton Drive in Linfield, also known as 93 Moulton Drive. A business certificate for the DBA will be filed with the town clerk. We have a draft of it that was given to Bob. We couldn't file it today because it has to be signed off by the Board of Health agent, and she was not available. She won't be available till Wednesday. But it's all completed, ready to be filed on Wednesday. The licenses to be transferred that are all part of your package will be the same licenses held by the Bali Hai, Inc. that were issued by this board on December 17th, 2018 for the fiscal year 2019. And they were an all-alcoholic beverage license, a common victualer's license, an automatic amusement device license for a pool table and jukebox, and an entertainment license for televisions and big screen TV. Tonight, as the chairman indicated, is the advertised public hearing as required by law. Abutters have been notified, and the hearing has been duly advertised, and a certificate of service is in Bob's hands indicating service has been made with the green cards. Now, MDK Ventures LLC is a newly formed limited liability company which is completely owned and controlled by Matthew and David Palumbo. If you'll raise your hand so they know who you are. Both of whom reside at 18 Blue Jay Road in Linfield. The restaurant operations manager will be their brother-in-law, Steve Cucinari, who is also here in the first row, who was previously employed at Orzo's restaurant that had locations in Saugus and in North Andover, which was a family restaurant. Stephen and Matthew are both TIPS certified. David is awaiting his certification. It should come anytime. And all employees that will be serving liquor will, of course, be TIPS certified. The property itself is owned by 160 Moulton Drive LLC, which is a limited liability company wholly owned and controlled by Matthew and David. The LLC purchased the property in December for $600,000. There was no bank involved. There is presently a lease outstanding between the owner of the property, 160 Moulton Drive LLC, and MDK Ventures LLC, which is on file with the Board of Selectmen. It's tab number 13 in the application that we gave you. Now, the restaurant operation will be a family restaurant featuring American comfort food, including steak tips, burgers, wings, salads, sandwiches, and a special children's menu. And Matthew can go into more detail on that when he speaks in a few minutes. The restaurant will be priced substantially lower than the prices here at Market Street. The restaurant will use the existing area used by the Bali Hai at 160 Moulton Drive, consisting of a restaurant with a bar, function room, and the Palumbos will be replacing equipment and furnishings as needed. but it's the same area that's presently licensed. No changes will be made to the exterior of the building, except, of course, signage. There will be renovations to the interior, including painting, new carpeting, and refurbishing. Those renovations will take a couple of months to complete. We will be using bank financing for that, and the reason that that hasn't been done prior to the application is that no bank will lend any money on the facility until they know that the transfer has been approved by the Board of Selectmen. So we need the license transfer first, then the loan, and then we can do the upgrade. The hours of operation will be the same hours of operation licensed to the Bali Hai. That is Monday to Saturday, 11 a.m. to 1 a.m., and Sunday noon to 1 a.m. Now, as the board is aware, there is currently pending in the land court an appeal of a denial by the ZBA to build a 23-unit, two-story apartment building on the property, and a modification of the prior non-conforming use of the property. That proposal was as a result of a lot of back and forth and negotiations that got reduced from a three-story building to a two-story building, and from 32 units to 23 units, and substantial landscaping and other things to improve the area. But because that was a special permit by the Zoning Board of Appeals, it required a unanimous vote. And although there were 2 votes in favor, the chairman voted against it. So as a result, it was a negative vote. That case I now have on appeal in the land court. The problem with the land court is that it takes a great deal of time for anything to be litigated in the land court, usually a minimum of 2 to 3 years. So the plan would be that if the appeal is successful in the land court, which we hope to be and which we will vigorously prosecute, the plan will be to build the apartments, to build the 23 apartments and do it as planned, which, by the way, are 1 and 2 family, 1 or 2 bedroom apartments, so it's really not geared for families. And one of the things that was floated is the possibility of making it senior housing, exclusive for senior housing. But in any event, that's not a matter before this board this evening. If we are unsuccessful and we lose the case in the land court, or if the case gets appealed and the case is lost, then we would go forward with the restaurant. But economically, we cannot keep the property vacant for a 3-year period. And so therefore, we need to have the restaurant in operation and continue the restaurant if as I said, we're not successful. The thing that I want to stress, because this is the issue before you, is that the 2 Palumbo boys, the local residents, are the owners of the property. There are no other owners. There's been some rumor floating around that their father was involved in this, which he's not. Frankly, they're estranged from their father. He has nothing to do with this restaurant, completely with the 2 of them and with Steve. So that's kind of a general overview. So we're not looking for any change other than upgrading the property. We would hope that the board would approve this. We would then go ahead and make the improvements and open up a family restaurant. So with that having been said, perhaps Matthew can be a little more specific, add anything? Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Appreciate it.
Good evening, board. My name is Matthew Palumbo. I live at 18 Blue Jay Road in Linfield. And as Ted said, I do own the property with my brother David. So we've lived in Linfield our entire life, and it's always been a goal of both of ours to open up a restaurant. A restaurant that is not open up a restaurant, but open up a restaurant that's successful and that people will actually go to and come back again and tell their friends about. So the concept that we came up with is American 160 Bar and Grill. American 160 Bar and Grill is going to be a family-run restaurant. It's going to have a local Linfield pub feel. A big reason for coming up with this concept is we have to compete with Market Street. And as you see, Market Street is beautiful and it's gorgeous. And there are a lot of successful restaurants here that are chains. And we can't compete with them. So we have to do something that's different and fulfill a need in town that I think is missing. I drive by the 99 almost every day on my way home, and that parking lot is full. And I go inside, and that place is full. And I run into a lot of Linfield people that I've grown up with, and a lot of people in this town, they prefer to go to the 99 rather than Market Street. The reason being is Market Street is expensive. It's tough to find parking sometimes, and they kind of just like to put on a pair of jeans and go have a beer with their buddies, and that's that. So I think that American 160 will be a very successful venture in Linfield. One being it's right on the baseball field, and I think we'll be able to cater to the families that play baseball in New Hall Park. Another being is Linfield's a small town. I think if we were able to do a good job and we serve good drinks and good food, I think word of mouth spreads pretty quickly around town. So, and us being local guys, I think we'll be able to have a lot of people come back, multiple times, tell their friends and family about it. The third being is the Bali Hai has a pretty loyal customer base. Even though they had closed their doors, when people found out that the place was closing around the end of the year last year, they did some pretty good business because people have a nostalgia feeling about that place. As Ted said, we don't plan to really change the bones or structure of the facility, but we do need to do some serious freshening up in that place. One of my biggest fears is when you walk in, that smell of Chinese food will never go away. But we do have plans to change the flooring. We need to give the walls a good scrub down. We need to paint. We need to buy some appliances. So we're working with Harbor and Chelsea. Refinish the bar. Get some high table seats up there. Get some new TVs. And actually, one really big asset that I think is going to be successful in that restaurant is the function room. There's these big windows that overlook the baseball field. It was not really utilized by the Bali Hai all that well. So I think if we add some big sliding glass windows and we kind of turn it into an inviting area in the restaurant, I think we'll do some business with birthday parties and bridal showers and so forth. So when we came up with the concept, we also had talked to some people that we're friendly with, some people that have been in the restaurant business their whole life. And I know the town has done a lot of business with Steve DeFlippo at Davio's, and he's kind of coached us with the concept of the restaurant and what he thinks will be successful in that location. Another gentleman that we've spoken to is Joe Akari, who owns the taverns in the square all throughout Massachusetts. And we had a long conversation with him regarding the concept and what he thinks will be successful there. So I think we have a lot of people in our circle and in our family that are knowledgeable about the restaurant business that will coach us along. And hopefully find some good success with that location. Obviously, one issue that we have and we can't do anything about is the visibility. That wall blocking 128 is not going to go anywhere. So, like I said, and we need to differentiate ourselves from Market Street. So, once we open up the doors, we hope that the food is good, the drinks are good, and that people come back. As far as the liquor license goes, we wanted to designate Steve and my brother-in-law as the name on the liquor license. This is because Steven has a lot of restaurant experience with his family, who was involved with the Orzo restaurants in Saugus in North Andover. Steven worked various roles at these restaurants, and I think he started all the way at the bottom, bussing tables and being a busboy to waitering tables, and then he found himself behind the bar and working with the liquor staff and the managers and assistant managers, helping ordering liquor and food and keeping an eye on the restaurant. So, talking to Steven, he knows that being at the restaurant, you need to be there, you need to keep your eyes on people, and you need to be able to trust the people that you hire and put in good people that in managerial positions to kind of watch the restaurant. we've been in the family business our entire life. So when it comes to something like this, a venture that is going to take a lot of time and effort and money, we only trust family to kind of help us guide us along with this venture. The plan being is once we get this restaurant off the ground, we're going to be involving a chef. The chef is going to come in. I already have a pretty good idea of what we're going to be serving at the restaurant. It's going to be typical American bar food. I think our specialty is going to be wings, and we're going to serve these wings with various sauces. And obviously, the chef's opinion will be crucial in kind of forming that restaurant. But things like nachos and cheeseburgers, steak tips, and chicken tenders for children. We may even be serving some pizzas. The bar stuff is just going to be typical light beer. I mean, Yard House has 80-something beers on tap, so we're going to be serving light beers and Bud Lights. And so we'll bring in a chef to kind of help us formulate that menu that's going to do well for the area that the patrons are going to enjoy. And then from there, we'll bring in some assistant managers and we'll bring in some staff. And I'll also be working with a restaurant accounting services referred to me by Steve DeFlippo, restaurant accounting services. And they're out in the Cape Cod, I believe. And you send them the invoices on a weekly basis and they generate a report back to the owners of the restaurant telling us you hadn't hit your 10% quota on liquor sales and so forth. And they kind of almost act as a manager as far as the financials of the restaurant. So I've had some good conversations with them about what our plans are. But in conclusion, that's pretty much the concept that we're coming up with and that we are comfortable moving forward with. And if you have any questions for myself or Steven's here to answer any questions about restaurant experience, we'd be happy to help answer those questions.
Well, thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. I think Stephen, if you want to come up to the podium, I think where you're going to be the manager and running it, I think we have more concern. I know they're going to own it and be there every day, but I think obviously we're happy that you're going to open up a new restaurant there. I'm sure the neighborhood would be glad to get a different fragrance going through the neighborhood other than chicken wings. So I coached sports behind there for years, and I could smell the chicken fingers every time we went to practice. But the big thing we're concerned, obviously, with a liquor license, is obviously the serving, and that everybody there is either tip certified or serve safe certified. Obviously not just the managers, but all the employees.
Yep.
So we're concerned about that piece, over-serving, being very cognizant of that, and respectful of the neighbors. You're going to have late hours, you're going to have entertainment licenses there, and we have to be respectful of the noise level and of course the neighborhood. Not only there, but you're on water, and if you know how water works, it echoes across water. You can middle of the night you can hear someone talking a mile away on water. So that's going to be the same thing here. You're going to hear things going on. So just be very respectful of that piece, and we want that to be. I would hope, and I imagine the neighbors will let us know if something is different than what we're asking you to do and what we would expect you to do. So, is there going to be any other renovation to the property, as far as maybe? I know you don't want to put a lot of money into it until you know if you're going to be able to build the apartments, but is there any major renovation outside of the building, or is it mostly going to be inside?
Most of it's going to be on the inside.
Inside.
As far as the exterior goes, it needs a lot of landscaping.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to really turn it into a much better looking space from the street view.
Okay. Yeah, and because obviously you can't see it from the highway, but that's too bad. But as far as your experience goes, just go a little more over your experience. I know we have it in our thing.
Sure.
Tell me a little more about you.
Family's been in the restaurant business pretty much my whole life. Most recently, dating back to 1996, opened Warsaw Trattoria, North Andover. As Matthew said, I held various roles. When you're in a family business, you're constantly consumed by that. This being a restaurant, but it's day to day. You're always talking about what's going on the shop. Excuse me. So yeah, held various positions. As Matthew said, I started busboy. I've washed dishes. I've done everything that you could ask for in a restaurant. So various roles, probably for 12 years, on and off. Obviously left, went to school, came back over the summers, worked, things like that, and then post college.
Okay. Well, I see the qualifications are fine here. I'm sure everything's going to be fine with the ABCC. And But I want to open up to my board members here. I know, Chris, you just got here, but, yeah, but Dick, you have any questions or any comments?
No questions. I'd just like to say, I think, quite frankly, we're fortunate to have these people stepping forward. I know Stephen and his family for many, many years, and the Palombos locally here investing, having them invest in the restaurant, I think bodes well for the future of that site. So I wish you guys all the best.
Thank you.
Chris?
And I'd just like to say, to echo what Dick said, I know Steve very well. To have someone of his caliber involved in this in the Palombos gives me confidence. I think that we need to maintain for the neighbors to make sure that we have an establishment that's certainly maintains what we have. If not, as Phil, you said, is an improvement from what's there. So Steve, I'm happy to see you with the microphone and leading the charge, so thank you.
Thank you.
Well, this is a public hearing, so I want to open it up to any residents here. Wayne, you want to come up to the podium? Yeah, sit down. I'm sure they might have a question for you.